What I usually do on my off days, I do as many hospitals as I do concerts. I do as many orphanages as I do concerts. But because it's good news, the press don't cover it. They want bad news. But I do it from my heart. I don't do it to wave a flag and say, look at me. We bring bags of toys and posters and albums, and you should see how it transforms these kids. They jump up and down, and they're so happy.
In the year 2000, Michael Jackson was enlisted into the Guinness Book of World Records for breaking the world record for the most charity supported by a pop star. An achievement that was accomplished by a lifetime of tireless dedication, yet a little known fact that has been overshadowed by years of fiction. Today we'll take a look at the everyday world of Michael Jackson, stripping away the rumours, the media and the mayhem to take an in-depth look at the man, the humanitarian. So let's start at the beginning. Michael Jackson, it seems, was born a humanitarian. Although his award-winning charity work didn't come until later in life, there are many stories of a young Michael in the 1970s, after starting to earn money from performing as a child, spending his small weekly wager on lollies and sweets for local neighbouring children. In 1971, a 13-year-old Michael and the Jackson 5 dressed as Santas and handed out presents to over 600 underprivileged children at the Motown Christmas party. The Santas' identities were kept secret until they had finished distributing the presents, although many of the young recipients were said to be quite aware of the group's identities. In 1973, a young Michael visited the Seattle Children's Hospital, where he met 6-year-old Leslie Robinette, who suffered from aplastic anemia. Leslie had undergone chemotherapy, radiation, and was kept in isolation for 3 months. Leslie's condition improved after Michael's visit, and 11 years later she got to meet Michael again when he sent her tickets to the Jacksons' Knoxville concert and invited her backstage to meet the Jackson brothers and chat about her medical progress. Sadly, Leslie passed away in 2017. The beginning of 1984 saw Michael suffering severe burns to his scalp while filming a commercial for Pepsi. Instead of suing Pepsi, Michael settled out of court for $1.5 million and donated the entire amount to the burns unit of the Brotman Medical Center. During the following months, Michael visited the hospital on many occasions, spending his time wandering the wards, meeting patients and lifting spirits. In April of the same year, Michael spent an estimated $3 million to single-handedly equip a 19-bed unit at the Mount Sinai, New York Medical Center. And in May, he allowed the song Beat It to be used in a public service campaign against teen drink driving, royalty-free.
She wants to go home, right? Let's go. Yeah, let's go.
Whoa! You okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm fine. You sure?
Relax.
What's a few beers?
If you don't stop your friend from drinking and driving, you're as good as dead. Drinking and driving can kill a friendship.
In recognition of Michael's musical donation, President Ronald Reagan bestowed the Presidential Public Safety Commendation upon Michael.
Michael, you've made it possible for us to warn millions of young Americans about the dangers of drinking and driving. You've done this with your music. You've provided the public service messages as well as through your own personal example. And thanks to your help, Michael, young people from virtually every family in America will hear these messages on television and radio. And they will hear them at one of the most critical times of the year when graduations and vacations are fast approaching. Thanks to your help, lives will be saved, and no one can put a dollar value on the precious life of one boy or girl.
In July of 1984, Michael and his brothers announced that they were going on the road together on their Victory Tour. Initially, tour promoters came up with a sneaky way to generate additional profit from ticket sales. Fans would have to send a postal money order for $120 along with a special form to a lottery to buy blocks of 4 tickets. Upon receipt, the promoters would deposit the funds into a high-interest account before the lottery would be held and monies refunded to unsuccessful purchasers, and the promoters expected to earn $10 to $12 million in interest. Michael wasn't impressed with the system, and after receiving a fan letter, he immediately held a press conference declaring the ticketing system would be a fairer distribution system through Ticketmaster, and he was going to donate his entire share of the profits from the Victory Tour to charity.
Can I have silence for a minute, please? A lot of people are having trouble getting tickets. The other day I got a letter from a fan. Can you put it down? Okay. Are you sure? A lot of people are having trouble getting tickets. The other day I got a letter from a fan in Texas named LaDonna Jones. She'd been saving her money from odd jobs to buy tickets. But with the Turn Tour system, she'd have to buy 4 tickets. And she couldn't afford that. So we've asked our promoter to work out a new way of distributing tickets, a way that no longer requires a money order. I've asked our promoter to end the mail order ticket system as soon as possible so that no one will pay money unless they get a ticket. Finally, and most importantly, there's something else I am going to announce today. I want you to know that I've decided to donate all my money I make from the performance to charity. There will be further press statements released in the next 2 weeks. Thank you very much.
Throughout the Victory Tour, the Jacksons gave over 2,000 free tickets to hundreds of disadvantaged children and their families. The Jacksons paid for the children's transport to and from the shows, they held free meet and greets backstage, and gave out signed photos and various touring merchandise. Meanwhile, in conjunction with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, Michael was also granting wishes for terminally ill children in his own time.
They found it when I was sick. They found a brain tumor. I was supposed to be dead by 12.
She's one of the miracle children. She woke up one morning with a stiff neck. After 6 weeks of neck brace and muscle relaxers, she's sitting watching television, and all of a sudden her eye starts just winking. And I said, Tina, do you have something in your eye? No. I said, well, then why are you winking? Well, I'm not winking. Instead of having the equivalent of 1 shot glass of fluid in the ventricles inside her brain, she had the equivalent of 10, pushing her brain against her skull.
There's a lot of pain from surgeries and stuff. And then I went through chemo and radiation.
It just tore me apart. I worked with a young lady. Her fiancé passed away of cancer, and the church started getting all of these contributions. So they decided they were going to set up a Make-A-Wish chapter in Wisconsin. And since she knew Tina and knew about Tina's story and knew what Tina wanted to do, she suggested her as the first child. At the time, nobody was sure whether they were going to be able to get to Michael Jackson.
Gonna make a difference, gonna make it right.
Because I liked him. I thought he was cute.
We flew into New York. A limousine took us to New Jersey.
Well, I remember going through the backstage. Jermaine was backstage. I don't think I remembered Tito.
And that's when we told her that she was going to be meeting Michael Jackson. Oh, just, so excited and screaming and giggling and when do I get, where is he?
Yeah. I mean, he was a big star, like humongous star.
And we went in and met with him and talked with him for a while.
He had a lot of guards and stuff, but it was great. I liked it a lot.
Through the whole concert, she just sat there and went, if somebody tried to talk to her, she's like, it gave her a chance to have something she wanted very deeply and forget about the pain and the chemo and the radiation and all the things she was going through. And I just think it gives them more strength to fight what they need to go through.
It gives kids hope because it makes kids strong.
Katina passed away on August 29th, 2014. Michael kicked off 1985 writing with Lionel Richie what would become the fastest selling #1 charity single of all time.
We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving.
After spending a week in the studio writing the anthem with Lionel Richie and Quincy Jones, 50 of the most popular artists were invited to join them for the recording. The singers included Kenny Rogers, Tina Turner, Bette Midler, Diana Ross, Ray Charles and many more. Since its release, We Are the World has raised over $150 million for African relief, including efforts in birth control and food production. 1985 also saw Michael fly to Perth in Australia to attend the annual Perth Telethon. Not only did Michael's appearance skyrocket donations, he also donated 2 fedoras and a pair of rhinestone socks to be auctioned off and funds donated to the cause. After his appearance on the telethon, which raised over $2.8 million, Michael visited the Princess Margaret Children's Hospital, where once again, the King of Pop spent hours meeting terminally ill children, signing autographs and giving out gifts. As Michael kicked off his Bad tour in Japan, behind the scenes he paid for the funeral of a 5-year-old Japanese boy kidnapped and murdered, and he donated $20,000 to the boy's family.
I'm very sorry and deeply saddened to hear about Yoshiaki. Yoshiaki, I know you're out there watching us. I hope such a brutal and heartbreaking thing never happened again, and I love you.
He also visited Nagatako Elementary School in Tokyo, where he met students and teachers and donated an undisclosed amount for school supplies. As the Bad tour travelled the world, Michael visited more hospitals and orphanages than performed concerts. He also invited terminally ill and underprivileged children and their families from every city he visited to his concerts and backstage to meet him, one of which was Tiffany Rao, who now works with the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
I have a history of severe idiopathic aplastic anemia, which is basically complete bone marrow failure. I was diagnosed in 1984, the age of 11, and had entered a tenuous remission and relapsed freshman year in high school. I wished to dance with Michael Jackson. I'd grown up in dance, I'd been a dancer my whole life. I felt that the way he connected with the world and understood the world was through dance. They were honest and said, gosh, okay, let's see what we can do. Then one day I was sitting in my high school lunchroom and the lights went down and the man in the mirror came over the PA system and a Michael Jackson impersonator came out in front of my whole lunchroom and danced and lip-synced to Man in the Mirror. And then presented me with the invitation to come to the concert. Just a few weeks later, we were on an airplane headed to Chicago, which was the next stop on his tour. We went to the concert the night we arrived. I went backstage to meet him. He spent the first few minutes of our conversation saying, I actually can't, really? Like, you could have done anything? You wanted to meet me? And he meant it. It was just it was amazing. So he was extraordinary, and then we had our picture taken, and I went back out to enjoy the concert. We had great seats, and I thought it was over. About midway through, this huge security guard shows up at the end of my aisle and passes a note down, and it said, Michael Jackson requests your presence on stage. Which clearly, even at 43, has an impact. But so he threw me over his shoulder and put me up on stage, and I danced to the song Bad. And I don't remember what I did. People always ask, and I'm like, I have no idea. I don't remember, but I was changed in that moment. There is something truly elemental about what we do as Make-A-Wish, to allow us as kids who are facing very grown-up circumstances to touch back into what it is to be a kid, and to remember that, and to be reminded that it's okay to step outside of sort of your circumstances and have big dreams, and was incredible for me. And more than anything, it just made me feel really alive again in a way that I hadn't given myself permission to in a long time. And it has stayed that way for me. It really has. And for 27 years, that wish, that power, that moment has been with me every moment, where I get to remember and remind myself that that there is power in hoping, right? It's been transformative for me.
Before Michael's London show, he invited Princess Diana and Prince Charles backstage, where he presented them with a cheque for £450,000 for the Prince's Trust, which supports young people with homelessness and mental health issues. He also discussed charity organisations with Diana, who told him of the Great Ormond Street Hospital. Michael visited the hospital 4 days later and spent hours roaming the wards, meeting patients and lifting spirits. Also in 1988, Michael became the United Negro College Fund's biggest contributor when he donated $1.5 million to create the Michael Jackson UNCF Endowed Scholarship Fund. The fund is still active to this day and assists students to pay for their tuition, room and board, books or federal student loans.
Michael Jackson took a break from his tour Thursday to receive an award from the United Negro College Fund in New York. Among the famous faces in the crowd were Quincy Jones, Elizabeth Taylor, and Liza Minnelli. President Reagan sent a taped message, and Whitney Houston sang America the Beautiful. Michael received an honorary doctorate from Fisk University and made what was for him a long speech.
I can't believe I'm nervous.
Michael went on to thank God, his friends, and his parents, and also talked about why he was there.
About the United Negro College Fund, an education opens a person's mind to the entire world. There is nothing more important than to make sure everyone has the opportunity for an education. To want to learn, to have the capacity to learn, and not to be able to is a tragedy. I am honored to be associated with an evening that says this will never happen. Thank you. I love you all.
Thanks to a scholarship fund he set up and a recent benefit concert, Michael is one of the United Negro College Fund's all-time largest contributors.
I was injured in 1983. It all happened over a custody dispute between my father and my mother. And my father decided that if he wasn't the one who would have me, he decided that no one else would be able to. So he kidnapped me, took me to California, poured kerosene all over my body, and lit a match.
In December of 1988, Michael met with David Rothenberg, a 12-year-old boy who suffered third-degree burns to over 90% of his body after his father set him on fire.
Michael was a great person. He has never hurt a soul. I am happy to have been his friend for all these years and been a dedicated friend.
Dave passed away in 2018.
Witnesses say a lone gunman walked onto the campus at Stockton's Cleveland Elementary School and opened fire with a machine gun. At the time, 400 to 500 first, second, and third graders were playing during their lunch period. When the rampage was over, 5 students lay dead, a teacher, and more than 30 students were injured, more than half of them critically.
In February '89, Michael visited Cleveland Elementary School, where a week earlier, a 25-year-old man opened fire in the school playground, killing 5 children and wounding 39 others. After attending the school, Michael visited a nearby church and hospital where he bought gifts for the children and encouraged them to go back to school. A month later, Michael took 200 disadvantaged children from St. Vincent's Children's Home and Big Brothers and Big Sisters to Circus Vargas in Santa Barbara.
Michael Jackson made a rare venture out into the real world this week, rounding up 200 disadvantaged kids for a day at the circus.
For 200 Santa Barbara, California kids, Wednesday's trip to the circus was even more exciting than usual because the ringmaster wasn't the only one in a flashy red coat. Michael Jackson sponsored an afternoon performance of the acclaimed Circus Vargas for kids from a local home for dysfunctional children and from the local Big Brothers Big Sisters program. Jackson posed only briefly for photos and, of course, did not speak. But here's what the kids had to say about their afternoon full of lions, tigers, acrobats, and a pop star.
What's more exciting, seeing the tigers and the lions or Michael Jackson? Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson. I like the elephants.
I just sweated all over and I screamed a lot.
October of 1989 saw Michael returning to Gardner Street Elementary School in Hollywood, where he attended his 6th grade. After making a motivational speech, Michael donated a year's salary for the school's music teacher. He planted memorial bushes near the playground and left his signature on a wall. The school named their auditorium the Michael Jackson Auditorium.
First, I'd like to thank my teacher, Mrs. Gerson, and Mrs. Rose Fine, who's another one of my teachers. She's here also, and I'd like to thank her. I am deeply touched and honored that the PTA, principal, and faculty members and students have been so kind as to dedicate the auditorium where I sat as a child in my honor. We must all never forget that the children are our future, and without them, mankind would become extinct. I thank Miss Gerson, I love you, and Miss Rose Fine, I love you, and the Gardner Street School Associates, and all the children, I love you. Thank you.
Michael had been friends with AIDS sufferer Ryan White through the later years of the 1980s, and in 1989, Ryan and his family spent weeks at Neverland while Ryan recovered from surgery. Ryan passed away in 1990 and Michael attended the funeral. He also flew to the family home and spent time with Ryan's grieving family and later paid tribute to Ryan in the video for his song Gone Too Soon.
Bye, Ryan. We all miss you very much.
Michael kicked off 1992 announcing the establishment of his Heal the World Foundation and a world tour that he was hoping to raise $100 million for various charities around the world for.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank the Pepsi-Cola Corporation for sponsoring the Dangerous Tour, which we plan to kick off in June. The only reason I am going on tour is to raise funds for the newly formed Heal the World, an international children's charity that I am spearheading to assist children and the ecology. My goal is to gross $100 million by Christmas 1993. I urge every corporation and individual who cares about this planet and the future of the children to help raise money for the Heal the World charity. The Heal the World Foundation will contribute funds to pediatric AIDS in honor of my friend Ryan White. The Heal the World Foundation will also offer support to such worthwhile organizations as Camp Ronald McDonald, Make-A-Wish Foundation, Children Diabetes, Minority AIDS Foundation, and other charities. I'm looking forward to this tour because it will allow me to devote time to visiting children all around the world, as well as spread the message of global love in the hopes that others, too, will be moved to do their share to help heal the world. Thank you for coming. I love you very much, and thank you all.
Two days into his Dangerous World Tour, Michael went to the Sophia Children's Hospital in Rotterdam, the Netherlands, and presented the hospital with a cheque for £100,000 to build a playground. The hospital named the playground the Michael Jackson Playroom. Patients that were able to gathered in the gardens of the hospital, where Michael met with them and gave out gifts. Then he made his way up to the wards of patients that were too sick to come down to the garden, where he continued to meet and greet the children and their families and handed out more gifts. Whilst touring the world in 1992, Michael continued visiting youth and community centres, hospitals and orphanages. He even flew Mickey and Minnie Mouse from Euro Disney in Paris to London to visit patients at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital for Children. The day before his September 92 concert in Bucharest, Romania, Michael visited a care centre for children where he spent hours meeting families and staff and giving out hundreds of gifts. Michael paid for a new playground to be built that could accommodate up to 500 children of special needs, and he pledged to donate profits from his Romanian concerts to support Serbian refugees. After visiting the preschool, Michael visited the newborn ward of St Catherine's Orphanage, where once again he made an undisclosed donation and met babies that had been left without parents, some from war crimes and others that had been abandoned. Towards the end of 1992, Michael paid for and personally supervised 43 tonnes of medical supplies, blankets, shoes and winter clothing getting loaded onto a cargo jet at John F. Kennedy Airport in New York. The jet delivered the $2 million worth of goods to war-torn Sarajevo in the former Yugoslavia.
The mission of Heal the World, my mission, is healing, pure and simple. To heal the world, we must start by healing our children. Today, we come bearing gifts for the children of war-torn Sarajevo. In 1992, Sarajevo has become a symbol of so much that is tragic but avoidable in our world. Prejudice and ethnic hatred, the destruction of the environment, the shattering of families and of centuries-old communities.
The beginning of 1993 saw Michael teaming up with Sega to send over $100,000 worth of gaming consoles and games to children's hospitals, homes and charities throughout the United Kingdom. Throughout the first half of the year, he also visited schools and care centres in Los Angeles to discuss drug abuse prevention. And he teamed up with Jimmy Carter to promote immunisation initiatives, which saw 17,000 children immunised in 5 days. Here we see Michael at a children's hospital in Washington, where he spent several hours playing games with patients and speaking to medical staff. Although the amount hasn't been confirmed, it's said that Michael left a sizable donation to help the chemotherapy department.
Okay, right this way. Let me see everybody, smile. Great, everybody right this way for me, good. Again for me, one. Nice smile, everybody. This way, Michael. One shot, quick.
There you go.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Pretty good. You better introduce yourself to him.
My name is Patrice. You have a pen?
I do.
Here you go. Mike.
Michael, this is Kurt Lindbergh, one of her doctors.
Hi, how are you?
I am fine. You watching the soap on?
You want some music, huh? You want some music? What was your name? What is it? Levon.
And I like Can you do one of those for me?
Here we go. Nice shot. You ready? You're smiling here too. Here we go. Thank you. Thank you very much.
He's rested. He's rested.
Embarrassed.
You stay in the hay back home.
No, it's too late. No big deal. You don't have to be perfect. Thank you. I just want to be there for you.
make my life really cool.
Do you have an autograph as well? You want to have your autograph? Okay. All righty. Got another one for you.
Bill, Charles, tell Bill it's completely okay.
Thank you very much.
Bill, it's okay.
Okay. All righty. Got another one. I think we had a couple in mind for you. Okay.
What are you doing?
Sure, Christopher.
Can I have your autograph?
Of course.
Oh.
I don't have a phone.
Here, I got it right here.
Barbara.
Jafar? Jafar? That's who.
On top of you, okay? Sorry. Smile. Smile.
Thank you.
Hold on this hand. You're going to have a lot of it.
As Michael's Dangerous tour travelled around the world, he continued to visit orphanages and hospitals in every city. A typical visit had him staying for hours, learning of the illnesses, giving gifts and leaving a donation. In one hospital in Rio de Janeiro, he left 2,000 concert tickets to be handed out to hospital staff, patients and their families.
I don't know. I like to sing with them. We all know a song together. Yeah, the other children are waiting for it. Okay, you ready? We have to move on, I think.
To finish off 1993, Michael put on a festival for 5,000 underprivileged and orphaned children at the Hard Rock Cafe in Mexico City. Each child was given a gift bag with a colouring book, pencils, and were taken to a nearby adventure park where they met Kiko, the whale from the movie Free Willy. Michael kicked off 1994 with a party at Neverland for over 100 underprivileged children and their families in honour of Martin Luther King's birthday. Michael spent the day with the families, who were given full access to the amusement park and zoo. At the same time, Michael's Heal the World Foundation provided vaccines and $85,000 in grants to homeless families needing long-term recovery from recent Los Angeles earthquakes. In August of '94, Michael and wife Lisa Marie visited 2 children's facilities in Budapest, Hungary, where they gave out gifts to terminally ill patients. One of the hospitals they visited was Bethesda Children's Hospital, where they met Bella Farkas.
This is Lisa Marie and myself at a hospital in Budapest, and I saw this little kid. His name was Farkas. He was very sick. He was green in the face, but he had this glow and this sparkle in his eye. I asked this nurse, what's wrong with this kid? She said that he needs a liver. So I said, does that mean he's going to die? She said, yes, he's going to die unless he gets the liver. I said, I'm not going to let him die, this sweet, sweet angel. No matter what it takes, I'm going to find a liver for him. So I sent my organization around the world. We went all over the place, and it took a long time. And I said, I'm not giving up. I'm not going to have this child die. I was so happy when I got a phone call. They told me we found the liver, and he has his life. And I'm so proud that I could help him. God bless him. I love you, Farkas.
Not only did Michael find and pay for Bella's liver transplant, he continued to pay for his treatment for 10 years. Bella Farkas now lives a healthy life with his wife and 2 children. Michael and Lisa Marie also visited St Jude Hospital in Tennessee, where they handed out toys, signed autographs, and chatted with sick children and hospital staff.
A somber Michael Jackson wore dark glasses, a dark hat, and dark clothes as he attended the funeral last week for 22-month-old Craig Fleming. He was the little boy whose mom allegedly threw him off this bridge into the rain-swollen Los Angeles River. It's a case that had gone largely unnoticed until the King of Pop got involved. It happened here just 2 weeks ago in Long Beach, California. Friends say that something must have snapped in the mind of the boy's mother, Donna Fleming. Police say that after she picked up Craig, still strapped in his stroller, and dropped him into the river, she threw 3-year-old Michael off the bridge as well. Then she attempted suicide by jumping off herself. She was unharmed by the fall. 3-year-old Michael also survived thanks to the heroic response of an emergency medical team. Now, Donna Fleming has been charged with murder. In these photographs obtained by hard copy, Michael Jackson looks on as the family grieves.
Michael was in the recording studio finishing up his current album when one of his aides came to him and told him what had happened, told him of the tragedy. And according to eyewitnesses in the studio, Michael broke down and wept openly. He was so torn up about this tragedy, and he decided at that point that he wanted to be involved.
According to author Randy Taraborelli, at first Jackson ruled out actually going to the funeral.
My sources told me that Michael Jackson was very reluctant to go to the funeral because he was afraid that he would get so much attention and cause such a controversy by his presence that he would take away from the tragedy. But Lisa Marie apparently convinced Michael that his celebrity and the fact of his celebrity should not take away from his feelings.
The Fleming case comes just 3 months after the whole world watched and wept over the Susan Smith saga. The murder in Los Angeles has attracted less attention, but it's proved to be just as disturbing.
I don't understand how somebody could perfectly kill their baby. How? I mean, it's not right.
The story obviously moved Michael Jackson, who not only attended the funeral, but stood by the minister during much of the service. Before leaving that day, Jackson handed over a check to the Fleming family.
A substantial check that has been reported to be only $5,000 when actually it's closer to $50,000, and it's just a start.
Michael set up a trust fund for the surviving brother and also dedicated his song Childhood from the History album to Craig Fleming. Also in 1995, Michael and Lisa Marie hosted the World Congress of Children seminar, where they paid for 46 young ambassadors across 18 countries to fly to Neverland and attend the 3-day seminar. They discussed drug abuse, homelessness, violence and child abuse issues with their respective countries and worked with the Heal the World Foundation on solutions, which they presented to the United Nations World Summit of Children in June. In September 96, the first sports festival, Hope, was held for orphans and disadvantaged children in Russia. Michael was a special guest. 3,000 children and 600 volunteers took part in the sports festival, whose mission is to instill a love of sport in children and teach them a culture of behaviour in society, as well as giving them something positive to look forward to and enjoy a community spirit. The non-for-profit organisation also offers support to pensioners and war veterans. 1996 was a big year for Michael's humanitarian efforts. His history tour grossed over $257 million for charities worldwide, and he visited 57 cities over 5 continents. In September alone, he visited hospitals in 8 countries. He visited Motol University Hospital in Prague, Czech Republic. He revisited Bethesda Children's Hospital in Budapest, where he first met Bela Farkas. He made $1 million donation to an orphanage in Bucharest, Romania, and accompanied the First Lady of Poland in a tour of hospitals and orphanages in Warsaw, Poland. Next, Michael visited Zaragoza Hospital in Spain and 2 hospitals in the Netherlands. In one of those hospitals, he paid for a room to be set up and furnished for parents who want to stay with their children while receiving medical care. As well as the usual giving out gifts, signing autographs and raising spirits.
Do you see anything here that'll give you any enjoyment?
No, I don't want your presents. It's just great that I've seen you. Really.
You don't like to play games?
I like to play games.
There's Yahtzee.
Yeah, that's cool.
I play games all day.
Thank you. It's great meeting you.
What do you think of these fans?
I love them.
Yes? Why did you come here to visit these fans especially?
Because I love the children.
Next up on the History World Tour, Michael visited Taiwan, where at a home for orphan children called Home Without Barriers, Michael watched a performance by the children and once again handed out hundreds of gifts. He then visited and made donations to hospitals in Malaysia, India and Thailand before landing in New Zealand in November.
It's classic Jackson. Whenever he makes a move on tour, the king of pop stops to sign autographs for the fortunate fans who manage to talk their way past security.
Yep.
Today, it's off to visit some big fans who are too small and sick to stand for hours, only to catch a glimpse of the music man with a global grip on fame. Michael invited AJ along as he visits the children's hospital known as Starship. Michael tours private wards exclusively with AJ to meet with children confined to their rooms.
Goodbye then. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Michael slowly moves from room to room and through the corridors of children. He smiles. Many of them are too young to know he's a superstar.
This is a great shot. Hey Matthew. How are you doing?
The visit lasts for hours, creating memories that the kids will not soon forget. One little girl asks Michael what it's like to be a superstar.
I really don't, because I don't remember not performing, so it's fun to make people happy. It really is.
I bought your kids' album when you were younger, and I love Ben. That's really cool. Ben. Do you still remember making Ben?
Yeah.
They're on the plane right now. These kids may have been too sick to have seen the sold-out concerts, but they did one better. They got face-to-face with the king of pop.
Michael? Barricade me away from
I've spoken to a lot of the fans here, a lot of the patients here, and the looks on their face is indescribable. How does that make you feel?
It touched my heart. I love them very much.
Is that...
His goodwill mission complete, it's off to the airport where his chartered plane awaits.
Michael donated the profits from his New Zealand and Australian legs of his History World Tour to charity organisation The Smith Family. And when he got to Australia, he visited hospitals in Brisbane, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth and Sydney.
For a man who will have his own child in February, Michael Jackson today described this as the highlight of his Australian tour so far.
This is for you.
Thank you.
I'll sign a picture for you too.
At the Sydney Children's Hospital, Jackson played Father Christmas a month early. Again, no sign of his new bride, the performer spending 2 hours inside, given special visiting rights to gravely ill children in the cancer ward.
Can we get something for her, a toy?
The self-styled champion of children dished out thousands of dollars in presents, dolls, toys and computer games. Jackson taking time to play. The gifts for some outsizing the patients.
How do you spell your name?
B-A-N.
After Australia, Michael headed to the Philippines where he played Santa and handed out Christmas presents to over 300 orphans at the annual Orphans Christmas party at the Manila Hotel. He spent the whole day at the Christmas party, and the following day visited suburban Paranak Community Children's Hospital, where he donated the profits from his concert for hospital renovations. Michael's history tour continued into 1997 and saw him return to Poland, where at a local toy store he spent $700,000 on toys to give out to patients at Latulska Hospital in Warsaw. In each city of Michael's history tour, he was still arranging free tickets for sick children and their families to attend and come backstage to meet Michael and receive gifts. And in most cases, the children were invited to join Michael on stage for the song Heal the World. Midway through 1997, Michael, accompanied by wife Debbie Rowe, attended the Variety Club of Great Britain, where he donated 6 minibuses equipped to help children with autism and learning difficulties get to community activities and medical appointments.
I like to say children will always hold a special place in my heart. So from Heal the World and myself, I present this present. It's more where this comes from. Thank you.
Michael, thank you very much.
1998 saw Michael attend the South African Economic Forum Summit, where he joined African leaders in discussion and plans for national debt relief.
Be a global resolve that the 21st century will bring about caring and protection of our children, and above all, universal love. My new business partner, Mr. Dunbarton, and myself are going to put our money where our mouths are. And we will be looking at global investments that will bring economic empowerment to people that will ultimately benefit and enrich the lives of children. We are all touched by the atrocities committed against children. Sexual and physical abuse, child slave labor, forced homelessness, educational neglect. We feel ashamed, angry, appalled. But there is no action. No action.
Michael visited Nelson Mandela in March of 1999, where he announced 2 charity concerts which would raise $1 million for the President's Charity Fund.
He has certainly been my inspiration to want to do something before the end of the century, to undertake what I call an adventure of humanity before the birth of the millennium. I love this man very much, and I love Africa. I shall be undertaking 2 concerts in June, one in Seoul in the Republic of Korea, and one in Munich. And I shall be inviting some of my friends to help me during the shows by performing at either one or both of the venues.
In June of 1999, Michael arranged and performed the 2 concerts in Germany and Korea, which ended up raising over $3.3 million for African charities, including Nelson Mandela's Children's Fund.
The way she came into the place, I knew right then and there
There was something different about this girl. The way she moved, her hair, her face, her lines, divinity in motion.
Whilst receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Cora All Africa Music Awards in September of '99, Michael presented Nelson Mandela with a R1 million donation for his Nelson Mandela's Children Fund.
Mr. Nelson Mandela, I'd like to present this check to the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund.
The trustees of the Children's Foundation and myself would like to express our deepest appreciation to our friend Michael Jackson. He is a supporter of worthy causes, and I'm happy that the foundation is tonight one of his beneficiaries. The fact that we have abandoned children in the street, abused, disabled, and suffering from terminal diseases is itself a tragedy of immense dimensions. But even more tragic is the absence of men and women who have become used to the suffering of the most vulnerable section of society, the children, the most important asset in any country. And the contribution from Michael Jackson, I hope, will inspire people not only in our country, but throughout the world, to follow his example and to bring a measure of happiness to our children.
Michael wrapped up the year 2000 joining Whitney Houston on stage at a charity concert, Miracle on 34th Street, which raised money for children with AIDS, Alzheimer's victims, and the healing arts.
New York. I do have laryngitis. I can't perform tonight, but I wanted to say Merry Christmas. I love you all. And you all have been phenomenal. And the best is yet to come. Merry Christmas. Good night.
On Valentine's Day in 2001, Michael attended a Heal the Kids seminar in New York, where he made a motivational speech aiming to educate and inspire parents to put more time and effort into their parenting.
Are we blind to the fact that our children are raging against the indifference, crying out against the abandonment, of thundering against the neglect? Heal the Kids is about doing something about making a difference and trying to help adults and parents realize that it is our power to change the world that our children live in. Who among us would have believed that the sound of children at their playgrounds would be replaced by the sound of automatic machine gun fire at our schools? That the sound of little girls skipping rope would be overshadowed by the frantic shrills of children dodging bullets? Yet, instead of loving our children more, we installed metal detectors in our school.
This just in, you are looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center.
Michael was in New York when the 9/11 terrorist attacks took place. He immediately arranged a charity concert called United We Stand, which was held in October and raised over $15 million for victims of the horrific attacks. Michael premiered the single What More Can I Give at the show and recorded the tribute later that year.
How many people would have to die before we can stand? How many children will have to cry before we do what we can? If sending your love is all you can give to him one
of Exeter City Football Club.
2002 saw Michael attend a charity event at St James Park in London to raise funds for two charities aimed at combating AIDS and malaria. While there, he met with sick children and made a motivational speech.
Sadly, we live in a state of fear. Every day we hear of war on the news, on the radio and television, in the newspapers, always of war. We hear of nations hurting each other, of neighbors hurting each other, of families hurting each other, and of children killing each other. We must learn to live and love each other before it's too late. We have to stop. The prejudice. We have to stop the hating. We have to stop living in fear of our own neighbors.
The Wolf family were just one of the hundreds of families that Michael invited to Neverland to take a break from hard times or recover from illness. Michael paid for and hosted a 3-day vacation for them at Neverland when they lost their home and everything they owned in a flood in Germany in 2003. It wasn't the only time Michael opened up Neverland to help families in need and sick and deprived. It was common knowledge in Michael Jackson's circle that families would visit and stay at Neverland all the time, even in Michael's absence. In 2004, Michael let cameras in when he held a Christmas party at Neverland for over 200 disadvantaged families.
From Prince Paris, Michael Jackson and welcome to Neverland. And Merry Christmas. And have a wonderful day, okay?
Although a lot of Michael's charity focuses were on disadvantaged and sick children and their families, it didn't stop there. Over the course of his career, Michael also made many donations to US Army forces, and in 2007 he visited Camp Zama in Tokyo to thank the Army personnel for their services.
What our community needs to realize is that Michael Jackson could have made millions of dollars on Saturday, and he chose to come and spend it with the soldiers and family members and DOD civilians here at Camp Zama. There were events where people were paying anywhere from $500 to $3,500 just to sit down and see him in their presence. And he made and took a special day out just to spend it with the military. We happened to be right in there with him during the planning stages where he had 2 commercial offers for over $2.7 million each. And he said, if they want me, they'll do it another day. I have chosen to go and see the military that day. So the community that felt that he didn't stay here long or we didn't get to get enough pictures or whatever, he didn't have to come. And he wanted to thank us just for our service. And so for that, everybody should have been proud just to be in his presence on that day.
Hello. Good to see everybody. God bless you. I love you. Colonel Walter Meyer, Major Brooks, and other military personnel, it is an honor and a privilege for me to be here today, and I thank you for your kind invitation. Those of you in here today are some of the most special people in the world, because you have chosen a life of service. When we all sleep at night, we rest comfortably knowing that we are protected. And it is because of you in here today, and others who so valiantly have given their lives to protect us, that we enjoy our freedom. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you. Thank you so much.
Joyful giving. If we try, we shall see. In this bliss we cannot feel. Fear or dread, we stop existing and start living. And it feels that always love's enough for us growing. Make a better world. Make a better world. Heal the world. Make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. And the dream we were conceived in will reveal a joyful face. And the world we once believed in will shine again in grace. Then why do we keep strangling life when this earth crucified its soul? Though it's plain to see this world is hell.